Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Like you said, my name is Mohammed Ahmad, and I'm here to talk about tackling cybersecurity on a small budget. Right, so normally when you start a company, right, you start off small, maybe hire 5 to 10 people. Operations are small, using Word, using Excel, basic stuff, right? The issue starts to occur if you encounter a cybersecurity issue or you suspect something malicious happening. You know, a lot of small companies, when they start out, of course they don't get attacked because no one's really looking at them. But once that attack happens or someone tries to steal something, the question many of our clients have is, what is cybersecurity? Most people don't even know what that is. So as a cybersecurity consultant, my first job is to establish trust with the client because I'm asking them very sensitive information that they might not be willing to share, or they just look at me like I'm a con man mechanic, you know, and I'm just showing them problems. So the most important thing to understand when you go to these small businesses is that budget is very important, right? So when you go to them, you have to kind of look at the environment and try to not look at it from a very technical perspective, like I would love to dig into all of these aspects, but rather what is public facing, what is something that someone might latch onto externally or internally. Someone with low level skills, you know, low hanging fruit, as you would say. So my job is to talk to the client to understand the day-to-day businesses and how they could be potentially impacted. Once we establish a certain plan, right, we have to give a budget to the client. And then from there, it's a little bit of back and forth between the client and me, fighting for what is super critical and explaining what is super critical that needs to be done as soon as possible versus what we could probably do like in 6 months' time, right? That is not to say that I would not want to do everything ideally, but we have to take in the financial statements of my client. Like I mentioned with trust, right? It's very hard to trust for these people to trust you because, like I said, they never experienced a cybersecurity attack in over maybe the 5 years, you know, that they've been operational. But that's what we have to do. A few things to keep in mind when talking to clients is that they're not technical. So it's always good to give like real world examples. For example, I'm not too sure if anyone over here knows, but I believe Versal was recently hacked and they made an announcement. You know, these are like small things that maybe like a programming company might know of, you know, showing that you are aware of these issues could help like build a certain level of trust. And to explain to them that, you know, cybersecurity isn't only just about like losing your computer, it's also your client's data, your client's trust, what information is valuable, you know, and sometimes losing certain information could cause the government to start looking into your company, and that could not be favorable depending on what you're doing. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. The most important thing, right, is to understand what exactly the client's needs are. Are you there to just fill a checkbox, or are you there to provide them with security in mind? If you're filling a checkbox, it's kind of sad, but you're just there to just do what you need to do. But if you are there to make sure that security is in mind, you got to keep in mind both internally and externally sources, right? Many of the times, sometimes malicious users, they'll get like not even malicious users, I guess like phishing emails, right? That's a very common thing. I had a company one time where one of their vendors, according to them, reached out and asked to change the banking details. This was 3 months ago, prior to where I got there. And the clerk, I guess, who was handling this transaction didn't question it, didn't call the vendor. They just made the transfer on their system. Once 3 months was up, the vendor called them to ask them where's the money, and then an investigation was lodged. So cybersecurity isn't only just about making sure you're safe externally, but also internally. more than 60% of companies, after they've been hit by a cybersecurity attack, go out of business. And these are small companies, small to medium companies.